I'm actually really sad to be getting to the end of this series, Batman: The Dark Knight Detective, Volume 7. I've been reading through these. This is a series that, along with the Cape Crusader, gets you all the way up to Nightfall. And this is where Peter Milligan starts coming on here. And this book contains Batman, or Detective Comics, number 634 to 638, 641, and 643. There's a reason they have skipping. It's actually continued in the Cape Crusader book because there's some crossovers that are happening at this point, which is why it gets into Legend of the Dark Knight and Batman number 674. Now, the first couple books actually had some stories that were missing, like the Robin Second Chances and others. This is interesting right here. We got Kelly Puckett, who wrote Batgirl later. He became a editor for DC Comics, and you start to get some fill-ins here. And it's interesting. They do keep the Commissioner Gordon storyline alive with his girlfriend Sarah, and they reference his health a little bit as we're getting in here. But this is like just the highest quality of Batman comics all the way around. Batman's really just doing investigative work here. Most of his villains he faces are actually just people. Some of them have combat skills. This is like a murder mystery that's going on here. That he's got some old lady detectives helping with him. And you see, we're getting into the middle of the '90s where like they start to do odd things with covers to try to like experiment with comics. It's pretty fun. Very enjoyable stuff through here. Now this becomes a series where you see Gordon and his girlfriend on a walk. This is a multiple issue project where video games like become a reality. It's very like, oh, video games are a brand new thing. And there's this like guy controlling a telepath from Arkham Asylum who is trying to get the everybody killed through these video games, basically. And Batman originally thinks it's the telepath himself, but the telepath ends up being a good guy. He wants to help them through the game, and they have to hunt down the real villain. Is kind of the twist. I love the digitizing effects here. Very, very early '90s way of looking at video games. You see some of this stuff creep up in the later '90s with these color schemes with some virtual reality invading real space stuff too, which is always fun to look at. So that's a fun one. A little dated, but it's fun still. And then we get into Armageddon 2001. For some reason, this Armageddon 2001 Detective Comics number 4 annual is printed in here, and it's also printed at the beginning of Volume 8. I don't know if that was an error on DC Comics' part, but it's in both books. And this Armageddon, this guy's like from the future looking for somebody who's going to become a megalomaniac killer, and he wonders if Batman's going to be it, so he extrapolates out this bad future. And this is actually a pretty fun one. Louis Simonson wrote this, and I'm not usually one for the end stories, and this is the end of Batman as he gets killed, or he gets his back broken, kind of. It's very interesting foreshadowing. I don't think they had the Bane concept at this point, but they did this as like kind of an Elseworlds thing. And eventually Robin becomes Batman. He gets killed. Batman comes back to avenge him, and it ends up being Talia al Ghul's fault. And then, the guy determines, oh, Batman's probably not going to be the bad guy I thought he was after all. And that's the end of that. Peter Milligan takes over writing here. Now, most of it has been like Alan Grant with Jim Aparo up until this point for the last several volumes. And Peter Milligan's like, his storylines are a little darker and a little weirder than the Alan Grant ones. But the Jim Aparo art just like, I mean, I'd say he's my favorite Batman artist. It's just, look at how classic this is. Just absolute classic styling from just like the way he's built to just like the way the cowl sits on him. It's just like really nice stuff. So I love this art here. This ends up being like there's a human bomb, and it turns out she's held against her will. It's kind of a sad story. And again, Peter Milligan just makes a weird case with this. And here's Alan Grant back. He's with Norm Breyfogle, and this is a multi-part crossover at the end here that gets into like Batman history and like Gotham history, which is interesting because like it really feels like the Scott Snyder stuff later on, but more condensed because they don't draw stuff out for as many issues back here. But this history, there's a guy who's like obsessed with old architecture and wants the old pure architecture back. Kind of a weird concept. And it goes across 3 issues. And actually, Denny O'Neil writes the middle issue. You can see Legend of the Dark Knight is experimenting with full bleed at this point, which none of the other titles have, to close out the volume. So really good stuff. This is top tier Batman and some of the best stuff out there. I give this a 9 out of 10. And yeah, I mean, they're all kind of standalone stories. You can start on any one of these, really. And I'm almost done with all the pre-Nightfall, post-Crisis reading for Batman stuff. So lots of fun for me. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.